All right. Hello and good morning, everybody, and welcome to our second episode of Let's Chit Chat with Narine Dat. This is a local initiative with global impact, is what I would like to say. And for those of you who watch our last week episode, will know that we have had our special guest here, Gehan. And one of the reasons why we have chosen to have her back again, and I've never done this with my many years of doing radio
Really?
show. I've never had the same guest twice, 1 week after the next kind of thing. So this is very special. And as I was mentioning earlier, or last week rather, um, she has lots to share. And although I thought, when we first started the show, I said to myself, what can we talk and say to fill up that 1 hour? But boy, I can tell you that that 1 hour went by so fast, and that goes to show that when you have when you're full of knowledge, when you have lots to share, when you have a passion for community work, the time goes by really, really fast. And last week was just a perfect example. And for those of you who actually took the time to send me feedback. I was amazed with the kind of feedback I've gotten with last week episode. So please keep sending those feedback to us, comments, anything, whether that be good or bad, constructive, all of that, because we really want to enhance and obviously and make this program a really good one, and make it the best we can make it, so to speak. So Gehan, thank you so much for taking the time to stop by again. You made it through. It's a little bit slippery outside, isn't it?
Actually, it was okay. But anyway, thank you so much for having me again. I'm so flattered. You say that's the first time you do this. So
Absolutely.
I'm humbled. I'm truly humbled. And I enjoyed the show very much last time. I love chatting with you. You know that. And you are going to have to share with me the feedback you got.
For sure. So I will
But
share one or
you
two.
said you wanted me to reintroduce myself.
Yeah. So we definitely will. I will kind of share a few of the things that people have said and wanted to know more of. But we probably have a few first-time listeners, because not everybody knew that we started a new show last week, and so many of them are probably watching, listening right now. So. Maybe I'll get you to reintroduce yourself briefly. But before I do that, keep in mind, here on our show, our new show, Let's Chit Chat with Narine Dat. There are 3 different ways to listen to us. You can listen to us on the regular dial, that's the radio, 102.7 CKMS FM. You can listen to us on Rogers digital cable for those of you who have the Rogers digital box, and of course, worldwide on the web, songlefm.ca. We're also taking it live on Facebook, so make sure you share the page with your friends and family and keep that going even after the end of the show. So Gehan, yes, why don't you take it away and reintroduce yourself so people know who you are?
Okay. My name is Gehan. In my ancestral languages, it would mean the world, WORLD. And I came to Canada 30 years ago, this year. We came in 1988. And it's been a wonderful, wonderful time. Like, I'm 50-50 now. Like, I came from Egypt, 36 years old, and now I'm here 30 years. Do the math. And I felt so blessed. That's the word. So blessed to have been able to come to this beautiful, beautiful country. We had one preteen daughter coming with us. Now I have 3 children. They are all grown up and graduated and married, and I am a grandmother. So I diversified. Now, Narine, why don't you introduce yourself? Since we're chit-chatting, I can also ask you.
Look at that. And I think one of the reasons why she's asking me to introduce myself is because she herself had done talk shows, radio talk show for many, many years. And I think you're planning to get back into that, and you can share more of that. But I mean, for those of you who don't know me, I was born and raised in Guyana, but I live most of my life here in Canada and in Kitchener, by the way, in this region here. I'm more of a community builder, I would like to say. I work in social services, and as for those of you who listened to the last week episode will know that people like myself, if we don't do these types of work, we feel lost. And I think that's one of the reasons why both of us are here. I mean, you can Google my name, Narine Dat Sookram, and get to know more of me. But I live locally here. I work in social services. I'm a job developer. So, so you can reach out to me, anything local, I'm a good person to network with as well too. So if people are looking,
give them your phone number.
Yeah. So, yeah, absolutely. So if you like to reach out to me, you can always give me a call at 519-589-4485. I'll be happy to chit chat with you. You can also check out my website, narinesookram.com, and you will have a wealth of information there as a starter to kind of get to know me more.
Did I call you Narine?
Well, I've kind of get used to it now. I am not even sure. I will have to watch back this replay.
No, I apologize. I apologize.
So I will again, thank you for coming. I really appreciate it. So I this is a freestyle talk show, really. So we get community leaders, community-minded individuals, everyday citizens, all of that, to come here to share their story, because we feel that it is worth sharing, and we also feel that it's worth for you to get to know people like yourself. But one of the things, last week we kind of went back and forth. We touched on a variety of different heavy topics. If you really had a chance to watch back the show, and so we talked a little bit about discrimination. And so people did reach out to me, and they were basically sharing their own experience about discrimination. So I have a question around that for you, and you can share whatever you feel comfortable sharing. And I know you are as open as you can be, and so feel free to share whatever you're comfortable with. But speaking of discrimination, would you say that? And I know we have grown over the years. There's no question about that. I mean, compared to with 2 decades ago, I think we have grown. There's no question about that. But do you think that discrimination exists? And I'm going to go start off locally first. Do you think discrimination still exists within our region here in the region of Waterloo?
Yes. Do you want a longer answer?
And
okay.
So I should have rephrased that. Let me rephrase that. So why don't you share your perspective when it comes to discrimination? In our own city, Kitchener, Waterloo, and the Tri-City, that area that we live in. What's your perspective when it comes to discrimination? And you can give us a few examples as well too.
Narine, when I first came in '88, the community was so welcoming, so warm, so honestly, like perfect. What I had at the time when I decided to launch the Cross Cultures in 1991 was more of a misunderstanding rather than a discrimination. When it's a problem when you oversensitize people. You say, you can't use this word, or whatever. And that kind of puts a barrier between the human interaction. I remember we used to go garage sailing, and one of the things is, we chat about the weather, that. And the other thing is we talk sports. And so when I drew a blank about sports, I play sports, but I don't watch sports. So all of a sudden, there was a kind of like cooling off of the dialogue. And I wouldn't call this discrimination. I honestly don't. Mm-hmm. But the building up of the divisiveness in politics that has been happening in the last decade has created an us and them, and it has brought to the surface. It never went away, but it did bring up to the surface a lot of discrimination and racism and otherness, and I feel that is not very healthy.
Yeah, and so in your opinion, what do you think that we as citizens, like regular citizens, people like myself, yourself, like what do you think we can do, or what is what advice do you have for people if they were to recognize any sort of discrimination, whether that be in the workplace, whether that be in any sort of organization, in the school system, all of that. In the school system, I have a specific question regarding that. But like, do you have any advice, you think, based on your own experience?
You're keeping me in suspense. I really do want to know the feedback first. Please.
So when you say feedback, you're referring to last week's show?
No, I wanted to hear what your listeners said to you and all those other feedback you got.
Yeah. So but keep in mind, we most of the feedback we have gotten and comments I've gotten from after last week's show. Most people, coincidentally, it happens to be immigrant from immigrant people who've migrated recently and a long time ago as well too, and so. When and although most of the comments or and so on, although most of them were related to discrimination, people were giving their own personal example. For example, some people share their like a perfect example, saying that although they have came into this country with a high level of education, and although they've continued to their studies, going back to school and have a second degree, third degree, postgraduate, and so on, which it wasn't a surprise to me. By the way, I was aware of all of these pieces, but the fact that our conversation last week trigger people to reach out to share their piece. So, and many people know me as a job developer as well too. So they were just sharing their pieces, saying that, Narine, that you guys touched on discrimination a little bit, and the way and our discrimination, we feel as if like we have we came in into this country with a wealth of knowledge. We have sacrificed. They have sacrificed time, money as well, all of that, to actually proceed with higher education. And they feel as if it's still a challenge for them to find meaningful work. And finding work is not an issue, what they were saying, but the kind of work and particularly women. A lot of women reach out. So that was their feedback, and basically wanting us to know that that they were glad that we touched on that a little bit, kind of thing. So that was the feedback, because you talk about a lot of different things, but I'm just sharing with you the feedback that people have given regarding that. So I'm not saying that we're here to solve anything. I'm just sharing that with you, and I don't think this is the first time you're actually hearing of these kinds of conversation. Anyways, like this is an ongoing conversation, by the way, right?
Yeah.
So I just thought I'd share that with you. If you would like to add anything else, then that's great as well too. To that, have you heard similar thing?
30 years, of course. I've heard it a lot, and I've experienced it as well. My husband came with a degree in mechanical engineering. He went to the University of Waterloo and did double honors social psychology, social anthropology with honors. And he's an adult learner when he came. Okay, so and he happened to actually get all the awards that were available.
Oh wow!
He never applied for them, but he did get them. So yeah, he graduated. He graduated with flying colors. So I'm very proud of him. But the problem that you mentioned is how people perceive those things. When you're born here, you kind of like already get handed an acceptance of some sort about your qualifications. When you have a PhD from another country, people kind of like, well, we're not sure what that means. And let me tell you, my Bachelor of Commerce did cover legal issues, psychological issues because of the marketing aspect, all kinds of things. We didn't have electives, so all of the courses we needed to take at university were completely focused on business, and I feel I'm qualified. I have a degree to prove it.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, like I mentioned, I think last time I told you, when I was interviewed, and the very next day the article came out that Gehan has taken courses. Now, no, a university Bachelor of Commerce degree is not courses. It's a university degree.
I remember that so well. You said it a few times, and I think, yeah, I think you brought up a good point. And so and so the thing for me is that, what do you think people need, like the people that are making the decision, right? To hire folks. It doesn't matter what in what sector. What do you think they need to know? Because you brought up a very good point that if you study elsewhere, let's say you come into this country as an international trained professional, I know there are ways for people to get their educational background or the educational pieces assessed and so on. We all know of that. But when it comes to actual decision making, the people who are making that decision, what is it that you think they need to know? Because I'm thinking that if they don't understand and know the value, right? I'm not sure how much of good that will do.
And remember, I was kind of always saying, maybe people need to know how we are being vetted and how we are being scrutinized when we are approved to come as immigrants. But the other point, and that will have to be a shared responsibility here, for people to be comfortable hiring you, and not just looking at your qualifications, but looking at how you are going to fit in with the rest of the team. So in addition to your qualifications and your intellectual skills, maybe people have to also put in, I know it's more onerous on the immigrant, but that's unfortunately the reality. One does need to meet halfway and be part of the social structure and be able to culturally integrate.
You mentioned a good point about fit. So what I'll do, I will take a quick break.
Okay.
We'll play some a little bit of a music. One of the reasons why I started off with First Nation music, by the way, here in Canada, we really want to. That's our way to pay tribute and kind of acknowledge our First Nation, people here. That's,
okay, before you break, I'm going to tell you the day they gave me my citizenship.
Mm-hmm.
First thing I did was go to a lady, a wonderful, like mover and shaker person who used to be in Kitchener. Mm-hmm. Her name is Carleen Elliott. That was at the Wee Jindaman when they were on King Street. And I said, look, I have this piece of paper here. Could you please honor it? She became later a band leader, and she's like an amazing person.
Oh, wow.
So I felt that, okay, the government of Canada has now given me citizenship, but I still need some kind of blessing from the original people of this land.
Oh, very nice.
That's how I feel.
I appreciate you mentioning that. And I think, I always believe that, that we need to maximize our own potential. And so whatever little we can do, the fact that you mentioned that, I think that's a very powerful thing. And the fact that we are doing our little piece, whatever we can do based on our capability, I think that's an important step, So we are going to take a little bit of a break. We are going to give time to our guests here, some time to breathe and so on. So you're gonna hear some background music, First Nation music, drumming, and we want to acknowledge the importance of our First Nation people here in Canada. And so do enjoy that music. But before I do that, I want to quickly say hello to Patricia. Thank you so much for your comment. Thank you so much for taking a look to see what we do here. We appreciate that. Don't forget to share our page. Dave Jagmohan listening all the way from the States and watching us as well. Mokiza, thank you so much for keeping an eye out to see what we do here. My good friend Amit, listening all the way from. We have lots of people from the States here. Asita from the States, all of you, and many of them we have grew up with and so on. So they support what I do, and so I appreciate that. We appreciate that. So we'll be back. And for those of you who happen to tune into us for the very first time, you're listening to our brand new show. Let's chit chat with Narine Dat. This is a local initiative with a global impact. We'll be back in a few minutes. All right. So we are back. You're listening to our new show, Let's Chit Chat with Narine Dat, a local initiative with a global impact. Joining me is a guest who we have had last week, and because um, she has so much to share, and because of the feedback we've gotten from our viewers and listeners, we have chosen to have her back. And this is the first time we have ever done something like this. So it's an honor to have you, and we really appreciate the fact that she took the time to share her stories, her experience, all of that, because she has, lot of richness to share, and we are so excited to have you. We are so pleased to have you here. So thank you so much again. Just before the break, we were talking about fit and educational pieces and the challenges for immigrants and so on. And so one of the things I've been hearing from people is when they apply for a job, for example, they have everything that the job is asking for, or the job description. And when they don't get a job, when they ask for feedback, in most cases, the feedback they're getting from human resources, that it's not a good fit. And so for me, it's too general for me. It's nice if they can be more specific, so that we can work with with these folks to try to improve the pieces they need to strengthen, so that they can move forward with their career and so on. So what do you have to add to that, you think?
Well, they may have a point about the fit, because, like I said, academic accreditations are one thing, but working with your team and fitting into the daily 8 hours or whatever of existing with a group is also a factor. A lot of the times when somebody is feeling undervalued, it's human, okay? You build up a kind of
Absolutely. Of course, yeah.
You get your back up. That's one thing that people don't account for. Let's put it this way, okay? But on the other hand, why can't we be individual and each one be the way they are? Why do we all have to be a run of the mill? My little daughter, when she was in preschool, I dressed her up in a jeans suit, and she would say, "I'm a girl, I want to wear pink." And I'm saying, well, you're playing in the sand and in the mud, and I think what you're wearing right now is more appropriate. But it was telling me that she'd already at age 3 been getting the indoctrination of, because she's a girl, she has to be wearing pink. And so there's a kind of mold that you get fitted into. And this is one of the things that we may want to be working on. One doesn't necessarily have to be typical or identical. There is so much diversity here. My goodness, one time at one of my UN days, a presentation from, I think it was the Iranian or the Baha'i community, where they had a whole skit about how we have so many different species of plants and flowers and colors, and yet they are all flowers or plants. So why can't human beings understand that perspective? It's so simple. We're all human beings. See, I grew up as a teenager. I went and watched To Serve with Love by Sidney Poitier.
Yes, yeah.
And when I came back, my father asked, so what did you think about it? I said, he's 30 years old. How could she fall in love with a 30-year-old? I did not pick on the racial side of it because I was not raised that way. My comment was the 30 years.
Oh.
Guess what? When I turned 30, my father told me, now you're old.
Yeah, no, I know. And isn't that something that's a whole different topic too, when it comes to the age thing and so on, right? Because what's old to you might be a whole different story to somebody else.
No, well,
Yeah,
when
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
was
yeah,
16,
yeah, yeah,
30 was
yeah,
old.
yeah, exactly, for sure, yeah. Um, and so you talk about the inclusiveness, and when we talk about inclusion, particularly in the workplace, it is so broad, because for me, when I talk about inclusiveness and bring inclusive to everybody, I'm not necessarily talking about people of color only, and race and gender and so on. But keep in mind, I'm even talking about people of age. Speaking of that, because sometimes with my experience as a job developer, when people are at a more of a mature age, I'll put it that way, it is much, and stats shows that too, it's much tougher for them to find work, because employer usually um, for some reason, and they're looking for specific age group as well too, because they feel that if you're younger, that you can stay, if you intend to stay at the same place, basically they're going to get more out of you. so so so
Oh no,
so
and they
so
can also pay you
right,
less.
right, and so on. So because I had a conversation, I wouldn't mention the name of the company, but they said to me, Narayan, it has always been a practice where they hire recent graduates right off college. And I don't think that's a bad thing, because our younger folks, they need that hands-on experience, they need that opportunity, right? But then she said to me, but now we want to really think outside of the box, and we really want to make sure that we are not losing out from opportunities. And then I said to myself, oh, you're really making my job easy here now, because that's what I have to spend my time doing, to really educate employers to be as inclusive as possible, letting them see that if you're more mature, you probably have some different sort of uniqueness that you're bringing into the organization. If you're younger, you probably have a uniqueness too, because the younger folks, for example, will be, this is just an example, will be really into social media and be into these types of pieces, right? Where in some cases, in fact, I met a businessman yesterday, and I had to make a payment, and so I asked him, do you do that, like, interact payment here? And like, he was looking at me like he wasn't accustomed. He does it the old fashioned way, and by check and all of that. And then I said to him, oh, so you do it the old fashioned way? Just slip off my mind. I said, oh, you do it the old fashioned way? And then his response to me was, oh, but it works for him. And I think that's okay too.
Of course.
Absolutely, it's okay. But it's just that we are so much accustomed, to all of that. So for me, having like diversity, in any workplace, it's such a key, and I actually, it really allow an organization to grow. Can you imagine just having one set of people in there, let's say age group, let's say you only have college graduate in there, and not having somebody more mature. Let's say you have only mature people there, not the younger folks, and so on. Because ideally, if you have a mix, and I'm talking about the age piece now, if you have a mix, if you have 25 years of experience, keep in mind that's something you can share with the younger folks. They can learn from you. I've learned so much from my colleagues and so on.
That's so true. That's so true. But bear in mind as well, sometimes companies worry that you are coming with your old baggage and old habits that are hard to break. And so, I mean, I can see both sides.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So the like, for example, that's why I say, when I'm going to repeat myself.
Yeah, and that is fine.
One of the things that was a turning point for the Canadian official who was interviewing us was our ability to be flexible. When they decided that we have that in mind and we are going to be flexible, because uprooting yourself from a certain culture, tradition, even an entire country, you need to be flexible.
Mm-hmm.
So when you move here, you're bringing all your skills and your qualities, and that needs to be respected. At the same time, you need to have the personal quality of being flexible and getting yourself to fit in. So it's a two-way street. It's a totally two-way street.
You brought up a very good point there. Being flexible is so important. you have to be, especially in today's world, you can't expect everything to go in a straight line anymore.
Both ways, though. Both ways.
Yes, yes,
Both ways.
yes, for sure.
You can't
Mm.
be a complete run of the
Yes,
mill
yeah,
of whatever the interviewer is expecting from you.
for sure.
But so they have to make allowance that you come with skills and you come with years of experience and a lot of things that will be valuable.
For sure.
At the same time,
Mhm.
I mean, hey, I don't know about your kids. I think your daughter is still a preteen.
She's only 8. She's 8.5. We were talking
Mashallah,
about 8 this morning.
she looks much older. Okay.
She's 8.5. Yeah. So.
Well, my kids are almost. I mean, my youngest is past the 25. So you kind of have gone through rearing or raising kids, and you know that they think that they know everything. Like
True, that is true.
When I was pregnant with my second daughter, I have a 14-year gap between first and second because my first came with us from Egypt, and then my second was born, and my oldest daughter was like, you have to do this and you have to do that and you should do this. I said, I wonder how I managed without you the first time around. Like, honestly.
I know. No, you brought up a good point there. Yes. So to come back to this to the job piece, I get excited talking about job and career and so on because I'm a job developer and so on, and I should remind, or I should let the local people know, for people who probably don't know, I'm a job developer. So if you live locally here in the region of Waterloo, or even anywhere in Ontario, or anywhere for that matter, because things have changed now, we can connect the dots. Do reach out to me. You can reach out to me directly at mcnarine@hotmail.com. Send me an email there. And I can guide you through if I'm not able to help you directly with your career goals, your with the kind of job you're looking for and so on. There's always that possibility where I can do referral, and I can kind of show you some good path so that you can pave slowly, so you can hopefully achieve your goals, because we have done it very successfully. So I will encourage you to reach out to me if you need any sort of help that way, for sure, there, because there are lots of opportunities too. And when it comes to the job, one thing I want to share with you, I'm not sure if you're aware too, believe it or not, if you're looking for jobs on your own, it is a difficult thing, for sure. But another thing I should let people know, here in Canada, I know we have people listening and watching out of the country too, but about 80% of the job are not being advertised. So what that means is that if you're looking for work, and if you're just looking at the ads in the newspaper, you're looking on the internet and all of that, you are only seeing 20%. So one of the best ways, and I know this is probably a whole different topic and a whole nother day and so on, but one of the best ways, speaking of jobs, is to really network with people that you know and so on, so they can introduce you to somebody, so that can help to break some of the barriers that we talk about, with the age barrier and the inclusiveness, and all of that. So sometimes those little pieces help as well too. So I just thought I should mention that, because we touched about the job piece and I'm passionate about that. So I just thought I'd share that. So you know what? It's amazing. Anytime I meet you, your time goes by so fast, So what we are going to do, we are going to take another quick break so we can kind of debrief a little bit here. But before I do so, I want to give a special hello to Amit. Thank you, Amit, for taking the time to tune into us. And for those of you who have shared our page, please continue to do so. We appreciate that. And even after the fact, please continue to do that, so that people can get to hopefully gain something from our conversation here, because last week with our first episode we have gotten a tremendous amount of feedback and comments and so on. And then there were somebody I can't remember the name of her. I don't want to mention her name just in case she's not comfortable with that, but she's a big fan of you, and I will have to show you I'll show you the name maybe during the break. And she said, oh, Narine, what a great idea that you're having her back again today, and that and what a great idea of this show, of us doing this, because obviously we've been doing the music thing and all of that, and it's so easy to do like online music and so on, right? But to create something local that has the potential for global impact, and which people already see, because believe it or not, we have somebody watching and listening to us right now from all the way from Bangladesh. And so it goes to show that we are already, and this is only our second episode here, And that fella, I spoke with him yesterday, and so he will be designing our brand new logo for the show. So do expect a lot of things happening here locally here. I'm into the local pieces, but for me, I like to maximize the things that we do. And so with this local initiative, we are definitely making a global impact. So you're listening to Let's Chit Chat with Narine Dat. We are on every Wednesday from 10 a.m. until 11 a.m. Eastern Time. So we'll be back in a few minutes. All right. So welcome back to Let's Chit Chat with Narine Dat, a local initiative with a global impact. So if you happen to join us halfway through, I have a special guest here, Gehan, who was with us last week, but because of the requests and because she has so much to share, we have her back. So why don't I leave it to you to take us to the next topic? Because we do freestyle here, by the way. So go right ahead.
Thank you, Narine. Last week, I happened to be chatting with a person from the African community, and she mentioned to me, by the way, I keep reminding everybody that Egypt geographically is in Africa, so technically I am African, although...
Oh, you're going to confuse people more now, eh? Oh, more than what we have already done.
Okay. Yeah, anyways. So, and she was telling me about the elders who came as a family category and who at some point now have become very, very isolated. The language is challenging, but also, and this is actually my response to her. Forgive me if I was not supportive of the plight as much as she expected. But the point was, where we come from, our elders or our previous generation set us up like. Mm-hmm. They provide the living apartment, house, whatever. They get the furniture. They set us up completely when we get married.
Oh, really?
And the idea is that we will do it forward to our next generation. But at the same time, we do take care of our elders. We do not send them to senior homes, and we don't abandon them. So when you come here, the one thing I pointed out was, okay, you haven't set up the kids. They are having to fend for themselves in this country, not because you don't want to, but because you don't have the luxury of being able to do that as you did back home. So the kids here are struggling. They didn't, like we did, for example, get set up and ready to go. So they have to put in a lot more effort into building their life. And maybe that's why they're not able to visit with the elder or pay more attention to the elder or whatever is specific to every family. So that needs to be remembered. The other thing is, like I said, we need to be flexible. And an elder person who comes here, yes, they do work and they struggle and they raise their kids, and at some point, they should pick up the language as well. Watching television is one of the best ways of picking up first the accent. They get a better accent than I do, but also get a hang on the culture. They need to network. They need to be out there in the community. Senior groups meetings, activities, and whatnot can help. And it would be it's not a unique situation for an ethnic person or a new immigrant. Seniors are being isolated in many ways. But when it's the culture to respect your elders and take care of them, the elder expects that and suffers more pain, psychological pain, that they're being neglected. So just wanted to bring this up.
Yeah, and speaking of that, it is interesting that you mentioned that, because in the past, because as you know, like I have a busy life just like everybody else, working full time and doing all the extra pieces on this side and things of that kind. But speaking of seniors, one of the ways that I've contributed in the past is by delivering food.
Yes.
Through the Meals on Wheels
They've
program.
changed the name now, but
they changed the name, but still use that as a slogan.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah,
look at you, you're on top of it. No surprise there, anyways. So it's such of a popular name, so they kept that as the slogan. So I in the past, and so I was thinking that how can I contribute back that way, to kind of give back a little bit, because sometimes you don't have to. I mean, whatever little you can do, if all of us do a little piece, that's all that matters. So so the fact that you brought it up now again, and the importance of contributing to the seniors and so on, you're getting me thinking now. So the one good thing, if anything, that comes out of this show here today, it will be, at least for me, the fact that you mentioned about this piece, because this really get me thinking even more, because you mentioned how important it is to really kind of think, because seniors definitely can feel isolated. I've had like yesterday, I met a couple because myself as a job developer, I work with a variety of different, speaking of diversity and so on, age and so on, I work with people from teenagers up to, very, very senior, retire and so on. In fact, one person I met yesterday briefly is in his 80s. But they are it goes to show that there are opportunities for everybody. So I end up had a little chit chat with a senior organization yesterday. I met her for the first time, where they specialize in offering opportunities specifically to seniors. So you have to be a senior. The only question I never ask her is that what do you consider senior? The age, right? Because I don't know, like, do they go by the legal age when it comes to retirement, or do they have their own policy when it comes to that I don't know, but so I will have to ask her that question though. So so you brought up an extremely good point there, and thank you for sharing that. So is there anything, we have only about 10 minutes here, is there anything else you would like to share while you're here? Because you have given us so much, and the good thing is that people get to watch this and watch it again and gain some knowledge and all of that, and they can get a hold of you. If people want to get a hold of you, by the way, how can I get a hold of you? I know you're in social media and you're open, but why don't you share just in case if they've missed it last week, why don't you give them some information as to how they can get a hold of you, connect with you, all of that, if they want to talk to you separately or whatever the case may be.
Okay, maybe I can give you my email and my website.
Yeah.
The email is crosscultures, CROSS at belnet, BELLNET.ca. And the website is pretty much the same, www.crosscultures.ca. My answering machine is acting up these days, but so don't count on leaving a message. That's why I'm not giving the phone number right now. But not because I don't want to, but it's just if I'm not there, it's just going to ring. Yeah, actually, it's been more peaceful that way.
Oh yeah, a lot of people don't mind sending an email. I think for me, particularly if people want to get a hold of me, I find that sending me an email is a little bit easier for me because I'm not always in the office or I'm not always at home, all of that, as you know, right? So if people were to send me an email, I can easily respond to them and acknowledge and things of that kind. So never.
Don't take me wrong. Like when I mentioned peaceful, it was about the phone solicitations.
Oh yes. Oh no, I totally get it.
They have become too burdensome. I'm right in the middle of thinking of something or talking to somebody or doing something like productive because that's what I do. It's work, and then I get those. Wanting to clean my duct or God knows what else. So these are an annoyance, honestly, and I wish that they would stop. They would really. I wish they would stop.
And speaking of that, and because here on our show, Let's Chit Chat with Narine Dat, it is a freestyle show. So whatever topic comes along, we're just having a chit chat here. So you also brought up a good point, and I know that's probably a whole nother show, but I do have people calling as well too, and things of that kind. And what I find, they're getting so good at it. Meaning that in the past, I used to see like 1-800 numbers. And so automatically I will have a good sense to say, guess what, there is somebody's calling up regarding some window cleaning or whatnot. But now I notice that the number shows up as local number now. Local number, 519 number. So, it looks local. It looks, just a normal type of thing. And while I'm on this topic here, twice, very recently, and not only me, other people too, because I saw a few people put it on the internet. I received a few phone calls. Basically, it's a scam, really, where they said that they're calling from CRA, and I owe a lot of money and all of that. And then if I don't pay, they will actually, come and get me and so on, right? And then that's one of the reasons. The community is trying to advise people, letting them know that here in Canada, CRA will never come to your door. They have procedure. If you owe money and so on, obviously, their procedure, they reach out to you, they'll do things accordingly, they work with you to make sure you're able to move forward and help you along. But they will never come with a police officer knocking on your door and saying, okay, you owe us some money, stuff like that. Have you had that experience while we were on that topic?
Not personally, no, because no, I haven't.
Well, I'm glad you haven't. I'm glad you haven't.
And even I do get a lot of. Remember, I said I do get those, but I'm kind of. How's the word? I'm trained now. Like what I do, Narine, is you know what? I actually publish a magazine. Would you like to advertise your business with me? And they hang up.
That is what a smart way to kind of do it. So even though for me, sometimes I'll be honest with you, sometimes I try to have a little bit of fun with it. And sometimes I will take that time just to kind of listen, for a minute or so to hear what they're saying. And when they realize that I'm kind of listening to them and so on, then they will say to me, okay, well, let me put you on to my supervisor now. And stuff, stuff of that kind, right? And that's usually when I hang up. Or sometimes I remember one guy call. And I'm not saying, in some cases, they're not the salespeople, they're not necessarily doing anything wrong though, because they're trying to get business and so on. It's a little bit different. But the scam people, when it's a total scam and it's not true, all of that. But I remember when they usually call for duct cleaning and so on. they usually say to me, they're available from 7 in the morning until 7, and I usually say to them, I'm not available from 7 to 7. So if you're able to come, after that, then definitely be available, right? And they're not able to accommodate, my timing, and then automatically they kind of hang up, So that's
No, but
usually.
you want to be careful because they may be wanting to find out when you're out of the house.
Well, look at you. Look at that, eh? Yes. No, you brought up another good point as well. So you see, that's one of the reasons we're having these kinds of chit chat. And but keep in mind, the information I'm giving them is not necessarily true information, though.
Okay.
Oh no. So that's the whole thing of me playing games with them, because we always have people at home there, obviously. But sometimes I just kind of play little games. But so that's that. So we have a few minutes more. So what I would like to do, I will encourage our listeners to share a page, and keep in mind that this is a new show. We started this last week, the 5th of December. Our Caribbean Spice Radio show stays the same. Nothing has changed there. We still do that live every Sunday from 7:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. And on Wednesdays, we are doing our talk show, Let's Chit Chat with Narine Dat. We're starting at 10 and finishing at 11, and that's Eastern time. So make sure you spread the words around. For next week, we have a special guest. It's a surprise guest. You will have to check out our page, our Facebook page. I will have his picture on there, and I will have a nice little bio as well. Same thing that we have done with Gehan. And so you can get to know more about him. But I'm excited to meet him as well, too. But I can assure you that this is not the end of us here. This is probably the end of today. Of us being here, but we will continue conversation. I'm also looking forward to see what you're up to in the new year. I know you are working and getting things set up to perhaps starting a new radio show. Even if you are not fully set up yet, you have so much other stuff going on anyway. So
okay, well, it's time for me to put the plug in. Okay, so yes, I'm hoping I'm going to have 2 different hours on CKWR. One will be an Arabic show, and the second one will be, I don't know the name of it yet, but we're going along the lines of cross cultures, mutual respect, restoring common ground. As you know, this is my campaign for the last 2 years, and I'm going strong with it. We're still hoping to have the monument in Victoria Park that honors that this is Indigenous land, and that we are a mutually respectful community, and we are strong for our diversity. So these are the things. I'm hoping, I don't know if it will happen or not, but I'm really hoping that it will be coinciding with my UN International
Very
Day
nice, yeah.
for Elimination of
Oh.
Racial Discrimination,
Oh,
March the
wonderful.
21st.
Mm.
March 21st. I don't set the date. It's a United Nations International Day.
Oh.
But we do commemorate it. I do the Waterloo Region's commemoration
You do the
for
local
that
piece
date.
here then, yeah?
And so it's March 21st. Mark your calendars. You will be hearing from me if you are on my list.
For sure. And so obviously you will be busy planning for all of that. So you have lots going on and so on. So I again and I mean, if you ever need my hand,
As soon as I have the program, you're coming on my program.
Yeah. So if you have anything going on, you just reach out. We'll be happy to kind of work together to make sure we are able to help each other and things of that kind. You're local here anyway, so it's easy to get a hold of each other. That's not a problem.
And you're on my Facebook.
And that's right. So you see all I'm doing as well, and I can see the posts. And you're very active, and I like that about you. The thing that I like about you with your posts, I have to give you credit for, and I have like 60 seconds here. You're so open with your posts. So I will see. I think if I'm not mistaken, you wish somebody a Merry Christmas, and you use the word Merry Christmas. I can even feel that you are so open. So you were not, so I saw it on Facebook. You made a comment, I don't want to promote any particular person here, but you made a comment, Merry Christmas or something of that nature. And I thought it was so nice to kind of really being open, being yourself. Christmas is one of the things that we celebrate here in Canada, and we celebrate many other occasions.
Narine, there's another point I really want to highlight.
Mm-hmm.
I was invited to the lighting of the menorah for Hanukkah, and I do go. I have been going. I have been for many, many years on the board of the Holocaust Education Committee for Waterloo region. There is no, and this is one of the problems. We need a lot of time to talk about this, so there won't be time today. But being respectful of all religions has nothing to do with politics. That's all I can say for now.
Good. So on that note, on behalf of myself and my special guest, Gehan, we both would like to thank you for taking the time to tune into us. Thank you for sharing the page. Please do remember to join us again next week, Wednesday. We're starting at 10. Right here, Eastern Time, with a special guest. And keep in mind, our cultural show is on its normal time. Caribbean Spice is this Sunday from 7:30 p.m. until 8:30 p.m. So until next time, have a great today and even better tomorrow.